We're going to be going through this, what is it, a six-game slate here for Thursday. And not a great night for me. It was really hard with the blowouts. I guess that was the big story of the night, which we sort of talked about a little bit on the show, just that almost every game was a 9-point spread or more, and most games blew out. And it was really hard to get fourth quarter run out of any of your guys in those games. And I played the guys in those games. So nothing to really complain about, just a little frustrating. How did you do, Sheets? And then we'll jump into tonight's slate.
Yeah, my issues were all my guys got hurt. I had the DeJounte Porter.
Oh, right.
And then I had the other guy that got hurt too. I had like two, like my FanDuel lineup. I had like Jimmy Butler. I had like Halliburton. I had like guys, but I had 2 zeros pretty much. Like 2 guys that like just got hurt. I think. Oh no! You know what I did? I was a real genius on DraftKings. I played a 4% owned Jalen Smith, who did not play.
Yeah, and Isaiah Stewart went crazy instead. So that was
Isaiah Jackson. Yeah.
Jackson. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, I guess they were right. I mean,
it's crazy how those things happen. All right. So let's get it back tonight. Let's just do our best here and see what we got. All right. What do you have first up? Let's pull up your screen first of all.
Well, yeah. Let me get a little organized here. Let me pull up my screen, and I just ran early projections, and we will. So there it is. So right off the bat, we have Sacramento at Washington. I literally am going to look for the first time right now. I'm just kind of just presuming before I even look. This is going to be an interesting revelation. I'm going to predict before I even open up the projections, which I just ran, that Sacramento, Washington was going to look good. And look at that. Wow, this is kind of weird. Well, this FanDuel, like Sabonis and Fox are actually the 2 highest point per dollar plays on the slate, which is really strange. And on
DraftKings also.
And on DraftKings, you have Malik Monk, Sabonis, and Fox rated 1, 2, 5, and then Keon Ellis rated 7th, and then you have Demi Avdija rated like 6th. So, yeah, I guess Sacramento. First of all, they're in a dream spot, and I guess those guys are still a little bit too cheap, I suppose. And you got Tyus Jones out. Has this been the case for a while?
Yes.
Oh, okay. The only guy I'm seeing show up really as play on Washington right now is and Kuzma. So Avdija and Kuzma, if you want to do that.
Well, they're all questions that we don't know about Avdija. We don't know about Holmes.
Even they're questionable. Oh, love it.
Avdija hasn't been playing. So
Kuzma looks like he's playing. Okay, so that's good.
Yeah. He's not on the injury report.
Poole is up to 7K. And what does it say for Avdija? Avdija, it says just questionable. And he's missed the last 3 games.
Yeah.
So the usual blowout risk, I guess, is in play. But aside from that, these Sacramento guys all look good. I mean, how are you prioritizing any of these guys?
Yeah, I would go. I think you can really. It's splitting hairs to really try and the Fox Sabonis thing. I think they're both really good plays. Sabonis is a little more consistent. Obviously, he's more expensive. Fox, as I don't know, just I think he's a tremendous play. Like, so I would go Fox. I would go Sabonis Fox to like 1A, 1 and 1A, depending on how the rest of your lineup looks. Next for me would the Malik Monk. Like, I love Malik Monk, and I played him last night even. But it even occurred to me on an 8-game slate, 25% ownership was, and look, he put up 19 in like the first 5 minutes that he played. And then, as the blowout unfolded, he ended up playing like another 2 minutes. So Malik Monk, I think that would be the first one you could sort of go, okay, well, maybe there's something else we could do. You also have this Vezenkov who's questionable. And that's a big one, actually, because he'll actually play some minutes. So like Keegan Murray will look even better if he's out. I really think it's the main one, actually. But I guess I would go Fox, Sabonis, and then I would go to, I guess depending on how you're using your value, I do think Ellis makes some sense, but I don't think it's by any means a must. And then I think Monk, and then Murray. But if you ask me who has the most likely bust path, it would probably be Monk and probably Keon Ellis, just because he was more productive last night than we used to usually get out of him. And that's partly because they were playing a team that doesn't have any business playing in the NBA. I'm not going to say that the Wizards are much better, but they're definitely better than what the Toronto threw out there last night. I mean, there's literally half the guys in that team that Toronto was playing they were playing last night literally aren't NBA players. So here you have, you're going to get a few guys who aren't either. Champagne's been good off the bench. He'll probably be off the bench again. I think this is a pretty bold projection if Avdia does play. It's really going to come down to whether Avdia and Holmes play. If Avdia and Holmes play, Kuzma's number one for me. I'm not really sure that I'm that interested in anybody else, to be honest with you. But if Avdia or Holmes are out, we're back to the same situation we were in. And there is a chance that Butler or Bernard end up getting some run anyway. So I'll probably have to revisit this one later, just once we get news on Avdia and Holmes. The Holmes thing obviously being a very big piece of information because he's like the only actual big that they play. And that means they might have to play this Vukcevic. It's not Vucevic, it's Vukcevic. Tristan Vukcevic we'll see. Hopefully we'll definitely get it before the first game, but I just would like some clarity on those two guys before I decide where else to go.
So I want to go back to kind of old school content absorption for a minute. So what I would do, like when I first started to absorb content back when I first started, I would listen to what was the one I listened to? The Morning Grind on Roto Grinders. Back then, I really respected both Stevie and the other one.
There was no other one. It was a rotating cast.
No. There were two of them. There was what's his
name?
I
was on twice a week, so I don't know. It was at a Roto Grinders. We rotated it every week. There was never anybody on.
There's the Siege. So when the
Siege, for a while it was Siege. Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah. So when Siege did it with him, what I would do is just literally I would just have my piece of paper and I'd write down their takes or whatever, and then at the end of the day they would do the Morning Grind game, and then I would say, okay, if whatever they liked in the Morning Grind game, I make sure to get 10% or whatever it is. So I had kind of this way of kind of just trying to absorb content. So let me just tell you why that just kind of hit me right now. So I obviously do things a little differently now, to say the least. Right now, as you were going through your analysis of the Sacramento guys, they're going to be the most popular guys on the slate, I was running my preliminary sims and lineup construction, and what I got was the two highest owned guys being the guys that you identified as the guys with the two biggest bust paths. So what I would do is if I would get at the beginning of the day Malik Monk and Keon Ellis being my top two owned guys, I would just put a little note on my piece of paper, question mark, be careful, or something like that, so that I would remember, later on in the day. Now, I'm not saying the point of the story is not to say don't play Malik Monk or play Malik Monk or don't play Keon. But if you're going to listen to the shows and listen to people that you respect, I mean, you want to try to make use of that information somehow. So that's what I literally just did. I just made a little bit of question mark for Malik Monk and Keon Ellis, just in case they continue to give me 100% of them. Maybe that's something that I can pare back a little later. People sometimes ask, how do you limit players or whatever it is? And quite honestly, and I really respect Bobby's opinion on these guys. And regardless of what the projections say, if he thinks that there's going to be, or whoever you trust, whoever you believe, thinks that there's going to a bust path or they have particular upside, just make a little note of that. So that's all I guess I want to add. Again, I don't usually things like that, but yeah. Now, one other thing that you mentioned, again, I want to clarify. You mentioned that if Avdia and Holmes are in, then that makes you like Kuzma more. Why is that? Just because you think the game will be close in that sense?
I didn't say that.
Oh, I thought. Maybe I misunderstood then. Okay.
No. I don't have any. I don't have anything like that going on. Kuzma, if Avdia is out, I like more.
Okay. I just misheard that. Okay.
Yeah. I think it was just a misunderstanding.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we'll see, and we'll have that news, Avdia and Holmes, probably early enough to where we're okay. Even though, like, again, I want to just also clarify something because I hear other takes that out there that are just completely bogus. They're just not good at their job. They keep saying this thing about no, I'm serious. These guys talk about, oh, well, this team's tanking and this team, it's complete nonsense. These teams that are in the bottom 4 are basically nearly set right now. And we're going to pull it up real quick because this is really important down the stretch. Nobody is, not trying to win or not caring whether you win or lose. Like the Wizards could do whatever they want and go on a tear, and they're still going to be in the bottom 4, which means they're going to have the most lottery balls possible. So the Wizards, Pistons, and the Spurs, and nobody should question whether those teams are trying to win or anything like that. Now, meaning that everybody out there and the guys playing in those games will actually try to win. And by the way, I also want to point out one thing that these teams will do, though, when they just don't care, like Toronto yesterday. Toronto on a don't care day, I mean, they were basically evenly dividing up those minutes between all 9 of those guys for a while, outside of Bruce Brown. So the other 8 were getting all even minutes. That's another thing to worry about when we see these teams with 7 or 8 guys project so well, because if they're going to evenly distribute their minutes, it takes away the ceiling of a lot of these guys, and it's hard to know what they'll do that. But I have that noted in my head for the next time we see Toronto if they're that limited, because they really, even before the blowout, they were really rotating those minutes, and nobody was getting all of it outside of Bruce Brown. Anyway, all right, New Orleans and Orlando.
Yes.
Okay. What do you have anything here? Is the question. Sort of feels like the question we ask every day with Orlando.
Yeah, sure. It's the same thing as usual. Sure. Wendell Carter Jr. Getting like, I don't know. I'm getting 18% of him. That's something. Mm-hmm. Once again, Jonathan Isaac, 14% maybe. The other day we had the aforementioned smash out of at least while he was able to play Cole Anthony. Markelle Fultz, like one lineup or whatever it is. So yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of pissed at myself for not taking the Cole Anthony shot because he went kind of ballistic in that one. Yeah, everybody. I have the same thing, I guess, as you. Like, I don't really feel excited. Like, they really aren't just like letting Carter play all the minutes or anything like that. So it almost doesn't matter that he's starting. Isaac is going to get his run no matter what. Carter always has a ceiling, and maybe you could argue, like in this matchup, there's more size to play with. But at the same time, Isaac plays bigger than Carter does. So I don't really know what that does. This is pretty good real life game. I immediately think the spread is off because I think the Magic should be favored here. But yeah, I don't have a whole lot for DFS purposes. I guess consideration for Isaac as value, consideration for Carter as occasionally he gets that extra run and is pretty productive when he does so. But nobody's like in a great spot. 2 slower teams. CJ McCollum is really cheap. That's another thing you could use, but mostly this is a game that I'm not really heavily invested in at the moment. If I am later, it's probably going to be just for ownership's sake. All right. Do you have Brooklyn at Milwaukee or the Houston game next?
I have Brooklyn-Milwaukee next.
Nice.
And I'm getting all these Brooklyn guys, Bobby. I want a little guidance of why that is. I'm getting, over 20% of like a bunch of these guys. Cameron Johnson, Nick Claxton, Michael Bridges, even a little bit of Dennis Schroeder. That's just the way the projections are kind of like leading me right now. And not getting to right now anything on Milwaukee. Very, very strange. What do you think of this game?
So it's because Dorian Finney-Smith is out, and you have Claxton is questionable. So really, it's going to come down a lot to Claxton playing, I think, because then Day'Ron Sharpe. If we don't have the information at lock or whatever, and maybe you're not going to play everybody you're not going to play 7 guys from the first 2 games. I don't think. I do think that playing Day'Ron Sharpe and just taking a shot. First of all, he can get there anyways. 4,200. There's plenty of upside, and if you have some shifting ability, you could keep a few guys in the I guess later is a weird word because it's only 8 Eastern. But I think Day'Ron Sharp may end up being, you know, he may end up being the 90% owned play today if Nick Claxton is out. Cam Johnson, I like this is the same thing I say with Brooklyn a lot. Like I always find their guys to be totally fine and rarely end up playing that many of them. Cam Johnson, I think, is totally fine and makes sense, I guess, if you're building a cash lineup just based on minutes and everything. So I would be fine with that one. Lonnie Walker, I think, is very speculative. So at high ownership, I could consider fading it. I mean, I'll put Lonnie Walker hasn't scored 10 fantasy points in a while. And I mean sub 10 fantasy points in every game. So these minutes that we have allocated to him, it's just only 19 minutes, and we've got him projected at well, I guess only at 18. I don't know that that's even going to happen. So I think Dennis Smith Jr., depending on whichever one of those two guys is lower owned, I might just take a shot on whichever one's lower owned because I do think one of them is going to end up getting the minutes. I just don't know which one yet. The price on Bridges is probably the most interesting thing because he's been kind of little dud mostly lately. But this price is tempting. I just feel like it's a good matchup. It's a good 3-point shooting matchup. So it's very spread out for me right now, but I guess that the most natural thing I would do is probably play Bridges, Johnson, at least one of Bridges or Johnson, and then one of Walker, DSJ, and you can always take shots with Cam Thomas. But the main thing could end up being the Day'Ron Sharp thing. They still have a lot of bodies. That's partly why the numbers, I'm having trouble with the numbers myself. They've got, Schroeder there now. So all the minutes I just feel like are a little bit, I don't know. I feel, well, I guess I should say not the minutes. I feel the projections are a little bit ambitious and they're speculative on these minutes. And while Dennis Smith Jr. and Lonnie Walker may very well each play 20 minutes, there's more likely that one of them plays 25 and the other plays 15. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you get the right side of that, you're in better shape, considering that they're both going to be popular anyway. So that's the way I would look at it. You would imagine that Giannis might play after the back-to-back last night. You also would imagine that maybe, I mean, hey, Milwaukee fought their hearts out, man, to come back and contend in that game. That was pretty, we talk about these games like they're just going to get smoked. That game was actually close. They lost by 3. Dame, who had like no fantasy points for like the first 20 minutes of the game, ended up with 49. Bobby Portis, who was 1% owned, smashed and put up like 46. So really, I guess that the Milwaukee side is going to come down to whether Giannis plays. If Giannis doesn't play, considering these guys are on a back-to-back, which again, I'm just guessing he does, but we don't know yet. We'll get some idea later today. I would just load back up on the Milwaukee side and probably try to get my Brooklyn pieces right to combine with the Sacramento-Washington game. I think this is another spot you could definitely attack, but it has to be Giannis out because if Giannis is in, really the only guy I have that much interest in is Giannis.
What do you think? You think he's gonna? I mean, not that we know anything. What do you think? You think he'll play or?
Well, he didn't. I mean, actually, you know what? I'm going to lean towards that he's not because if he's doing this and on a back-to-back, you're not going to play a nationally televised game against the number 1 team in the East and the team you're supposed to go through to win a title, and then you're going to on the back-to-back play at home against Brooklyn. You get an FU from me, and Giannis is not that kind of a guy. He tends to play when he can. He's very competitive. He brings it every night. I don't think he's going to be that kind of a pansy, but I don't know. I've been watching these pansy things go on all over the place lately. So I would think it'd be pretty weak to sit out a game last night on against Boston and then come and play tonight. But that's just so I guess I'm now leaning, I would lean towards him not playing. But again, like I said, I don't know. The new NBA, it's different. You get weird things. And was he really so bad last night in Boston that he's fine tonight in Milwaukee? I don't know, man. It's weird. Okay. Let's get that's the understatement of the year, Brent, that Sharp could be valuable if he starts. If Sharp starts, he will be 90% owned. Not an exaggeration. If Claxton's out and Sharp starts, 90% would be my guess. Chicago and Houston.
So I have a couple of stray Houston guys getting ownership here. You get the Dylan Brooks experience again. I'm getting 60% of him right now, and that always has risk. Not that this is why it would be risky, but listen, this is a slow game probably, I think. I'm not surprised that very few people are showing up here. I'm getting some Amin Thompson again. guess a little bit of Vooch. But this Dylan Brooks play is standing out right now. I guess it's probably just because of the price.
Yep. Yeah. I've just said it every night. Has it worked once? Like,
yeah, it worked for me when he got 3x and I won anyway. But aside from that, no. Did you disappear? Did I disappear? I think you disappeared. Bobby disappeared. We'll wait for him for a minute. There he is.
that was really weird. My computer just
It was the revenge of Dylan Brooks.
It was just the fact that the revenge of Dylan Brooks.
Well, you were saying, did the Dylan Brooks play ever work? And then they kicked you offline.
I guess he's going to get a million tonight.
Yeah, I guess so.
So basically, no. In general, it's just a terrible play, in my opinion, on big slates. This is a small slate. It's 4,400. He's going to get there sometimes. I've been saying this about him. Look, you won a tournament when he was terrible for you. So
that's right. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, sure, like him being terrible is always going to be the deal breaker. It's you need value, and he provides some value. I would I always start trying to just fade that stuff unless there's like, if he's in Memphis and I know he's going to shoot like 15, 20 times because it's a revenge thing, then maybe I'll play him. But you just get like no peripheral stats from him whatsoever. So he's seen no boost at all with it. Chao Cheng-Gun really. I don't know. So starting on the Bulls side, I actually think that Caruso and Kobe White is a huge piece of information today. And I don't know, I don't know how we're supposed to build not knowing that, because I think DeRozan and Vooch are both potential priorities if they're out. I also think Drummond is an interesting tournament play. So I think that Torrey Craig would end up looking like a value at 3,800. So Kobe White and Caruso are actually pretty important to me on the Chicago side. And if they play, no interest in anyone. If they don't play, gonna have to reassess. The Dylan Brooks, like I said, cash game, sure. Absolutely not playing him in a tournament as of right now. But at 20, I thought he was going to be like 35, 40% out. 20%, I can probably stomach it, but it feels pretty gross. And then my other question is, hey, you know what? Just because the matchup isn't quite as good, we're not going to play, Amen Thompson and Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green. I would be trying to get to at least one of those guys, Thompson, Green, VanVleet. My favorite, just for the price, I think is Thompson. I think his projection is a little bit underrated here. And I think Jabari Smith is interesting as well. So I like the idea of getting to one of these Houston guys. And that's sort of the way I have it ranked. If Caruso's out, maybe you make a better argument for maybe Jalen Green looks even better. But I would be trying to play the Houston guys not named Dylan Brooks if it were me today. And you get like the complete opposite experience with Jock Londale that you do with Brooks, where you've got a lot of risk paths and everything, but at least the guy can put up some fantasy points if he for the minutes he plays. It's just, we know Brooks is going to play 30 minutes, and we know that he's likely going to end up with like 15 fantasy points. Anyway, so I'm still deciding, but I like the idea of getting to both the big two from the Bulls, DeRozan or Vooch if White's out, and then I like the idea of the guards / whatever you want to call Amen Thompson on the Houston side. That's my favorite part of this game for sure. All right, what else do we have? Utah at Dallas.
Yeah, so I'm getting a really weird exposure on a guy here. I got to look into this. I'm getting right now on Dallas. Yeah, I'm getting 50% Luka, but I'm getting also 50% or so, no, 35% or so of Derek Jones Jr. and then like 60% or so of PJ Washington. So maybe you could, shed some light on why that might be the case, aside from just saying, well, just what the projections are giving me. Maybe you could tell me why the projections are getting me there. And then a little bit of Chris Dunn, Taylor Horton-Tucker down the list, and maybe a little bit of Daniel Gafford. But Luka's obviously, as always, very, very solid spender.
Yeah. So on the Utah side, this projection for Taylor Horton, I mean, I don't know where they come from, you know. I actually would have. I was, you know, coming in. I looked at this slate last night when I was sort of adjusting my golf stuff, and I thought Taylor Horton Tucker, like, oh, that'll be an interesting value dart I take tomorrow. And now he's projected at first look at 28% ownership.
Oh,
like,
no thanks.
But why though? Like, I mean, they've had a bunch of guys out, and now Lauri Markkanen this is with Lauri Markkanen in that he's projected like that. I just don't understand the rhyme or reason. I do think in a blowout on a back-to-back, they could end up using him a lot. So again, he's productive when he actually plays. So I guess that he's my highest level of interest, which is not to say that I'm that interested in him. I think if you want to just hope the game stays close, maybe you play maybe you play Keontae George, and then that's your run back with the Luka if you can get to Luka. People are going to continue trying to get to Luka. It's going to be at this moment, I would have a hard time doing it with one build. But it's not like there's these amazing plays like there have been sheets other than like Fox. Like we've had like 3 or 4 guys in that 8 to 9K range that it just looks so awesome like lately that it's been okay to me to fade Luka. But we don't really have those either tonight. So I'm trying to decide. I do think as of right now, playing, you know, one of Luka or Kyrie is probably a good idea. I just don't know how you're going to do it. And that's probably why PJ Washington's showing up so much. I do prefer PJ Washington to Dillon Brooks for what it's worth. But I mean, he's playing the 4 and 5. They also have Lively doing the same. They also have Gafford doing the same. They also have Derrick Jones Jr. sometimes sliding over to the 4. So, and they have Maxi Kleber who's still getting minutes. So I'm trying to figure out exactly how they're all going to get minutes. And PJ Washington at 31 seems reasonable, but could easily be 26 or 27. Gafford at 25 could easily be 20. And then you've got Lively at 20, which could be, you know, 24. And they don't sound like much, but that's enough to make a guy a good player or look like a good play and look like a really bad play. As of right now, I think Derrick Jones Jr. is the 3,300. If you just really need the value, that's fine. Again, another guy I'd rather not play if I don't have to. And then I would be trying to get to one of Luka or Kyrie, and I don't think I'd be able to get to Luka right now. It's a premium matchup. The Dallas plays down to competition, but it is a back-to-back for Utah. So I'm sort of expecting maybe some news from Utah today. Maybe some of the guys who were playing yesterday are not playing today. Yeah, it's kind of a weird slate. It feels like a tough slate, but I don't feel like I really like anything that much.
Well, the thing is, we get to this last game here, this Knicks Nuggets game. Like, I think I'm kind of figuring this out. Is, you know, PJ Washington and Dillon Brooks and all these guys. I mean, I think they're trying to find you a way to get to Luka, right? That's why Derrick Jones and Cam Johnson, whatever it is, to that point. I mean, I was looking at my exposures here, and I was presuming when I got to this game, I was going to say, well, I presume that Jalen Brunson's out because I'm getting like 50% of Miles McBride. But then I look and I see that Brunson is in. So I'm like, why the hell would I be getting 55% of Miles McBride? And I guess
they've been starting them together.
Yeah, but and not only that, but just because of the price, you know, like these are the types of price tags that are going to be sought out by the algorithms. So yeah, that's what I'd be getting right now is all kinds of Miles McBride exposure. I wouldn't be getting. Well, I'm also be getting like a handful of Dante DiVincenzo maybe, and then on the other side, just some random maybe Caldwell Pope or Michael Porter Jr.'s. Not getting any Jokic. And that's what I got here.
Yeah, so, you know, assuming that McBride starts, which unfortunately we won't even know, you know, which I think he will. I like McBride. I'm willing to completely gamble on the upside. I actually think he's a really good real life basketball player. I think people don't realize that yet, but I think he is really good. I like this price on DiVincenzo. But I am just going to keep saying what I say. If you want to bet on this game staying close, it's going to happen because of Jalen Brunson. And Jalen Brunson, I mean, we see it every day, 9K, and all we see him do is put up these 50s and no one wants to play him. Right. Yeah, the matchup's tough. That's why they need him more, you know? So I'm actually heavily interested in Jalen Brunson. Certainly, I don't think I build a lineup right now without Brunson or McBride. Because even in the like blowoutish runs, these guys still get minutes for the Knicks. So I have it ranked, McBride, Brunson, whatever. They're both interesting in different ways. And then DiVincenzo, and I think Josh Hart is interesting. I actually like the idea of getting a little bit of a stack here because I don't like things elsewhere. I don't think I'd be able to get to Jokic, and I think Aaron Gordon's price is completely reasonable. And this is the kind of slate, if we're going to play these 4K, nothing guys, let's play one we know is going to play 34 minutes, like KCP or something, who's a similar play to Dillon Brooks, but is a little bit cheaper and is a little more consistently at least like getting around the 5X. Like Dillon Brooks, like we just saw him get like 1 fantasy point in a game. That was a real game. It wasn't like a pretend like get hurt game. It was like an actual game. Anyway, so I like that I like trying to get a little overweight this last game. In terms of priorities for the overall slate, I think that you're playing one of Fox or Sabonis. I have them close, but like I guess honestly, I like them both similarly. I guess I like Fox just a little bit because he's cheaper. I think you're playing one of Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges. I think Cam Johnson is going to be the one more people go to. I think that the Utah bigs are going to be popular, and the Dallas bigs, as well as PJ Washington especially. I'm a little more skeptical of that one. I'm a little bit skeptical about the Dillon Brooks play, although he scored like 40 one night, and when I worked at our like Roto Grind, no, it wasn't at our Roto Grind, it was when we were doing our thing, and somebody I just was getting just blasted. How could you not know it? Look at the matchup. How could you not? And I'm just going to say, if everybody's claiming that they know outside of when he goes back to Memphis or something, that they know that Dillon Brooks is about to go off, you're lying, because I don't think he has any idea. So it's, still waiting for the slate to shape up, because that Avdia news early is going to be big. But right now I have just Fox, Cam Johnson. I actually have Brunson as a priority, and I have McBride as a priority, because I think that's how that game stays close. And I think that the Knicks are competitive enough to keep it close. So that's my weird foursome right now. And you're probably playing 2 from Sacramento, 1 from Washington, one from at least 1 from Dallas, one way or the other. And then I like the idea with the Brunson thing. In fact, when I just think about Brunson straight up versus Kyrie, I think that you got to play Brunson as the better play. But Kyrie has been awesome lately too. So yeah, again, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do with this slate. I had a really hard time when I looked at it first. So I'm going to hopefully have more clarity by 6:00 Eastern. Or maybe it's good that I don't have clarity, because I can't seem to win when I have clarity. I felt really good about my lineups last night, and it did not work out. So what does that tell you?
So just for those of you who made it this far, so I'm going to be doing my MMA DFS video in a little while, and I might do a hockey one, because it's a huge hockey slate, including the 555. So I might do a hockey thing. And aside from that, we'll just see you at 6.